Captain Miles Maverick Kennedy looked at the gaping, smoke-filled hole in his B-17 Flying Fortress, then at his co-pilot, bleeding but still conscious. They were deep over Nazi territory, 30 miles from the English Channel. Bailing out meant immediate capture, torture, or certain death. Every man in that bomber was sworn to never surrender, yet his commanders had written them off. So, Miles did the only thing he could do. He defied the only order that mattered. He gripped the yoke, pushed the crippled plane into a nosedive, and prepared to land. This is the untwisted truth of a bomber pilot who refused to abandon his crew and the 3-day impossible fight for survival that followed. To understand the strategic necessity of Miles's actions, you have to appreciate the brutal reality of the 1943 air war over Europe. Long-range bomber missions were a calculated gamble of resources and human life. Every airman was considered a high-value asset. Miles Kennedy wasn't reckless. He was meticulous. A farm boy from Ohio, he had qualified as a bomber pilot at just 22, a genius for coaxing extra speed out of an overburdened engine. His crew, the Iron Hawks, were a tightly knit unit, dedicated to their mission of disrupting the enemy's industrial capability. The B-17 was legendary for taking punishment, but the flak strike that hit them, tearing through the No. 4 engine and severing control cables, should have been fatal. The official protocol was clear: preserve life, abandon the aircraft. But Miles had a different, deeper code: no man left behind. Miles chose a small, open field, knowing the landing would be a violent, high-risk maneuver. He fought the controls, praying the damage wouldn't tear the fuselage apart. They hit hard, shearing off the remaining landing gear, skidding through a thicket of trees. Silence. Then, the smell of aviation fuel and smoke. They were alive, but that silence would not last. The crash site immediately drew attention. Their mission was compromised. Their survival now depended on speed and silence. Miles's first order wasn't to grab first aid. It was to rig the B-17's remaining armaments to explode a denial of critical military technology to the enemy. He checked his crew. 5 men injured, 2 seriously. They couldn't walk. The escape plan had changed from a quick dash to a brutal, deliberate trek through hostile territory. Miles knew, from his intelligence briefings, that the nearest enemy encampment, a high-priority anti-aircraft, defense, battery was less than 3 miles away. They had less than an hour before the first search patrol would arrive to secure the wreckage. They scavenged the essentials. Miles became the navigator, the doctor, and the ultimate shield. He divided the remaining pain medication, rationed the minimal water supply, and committed the next 72 hours of his life to caring his most critically wounded comrade. It was a superhuman effort, fueled not by adrenaline, but by sheer, relentless devotion. Their gear was stripped to the absolute essentials: 2 M1911 pistols, 12 rounds of ammunition, a map torn from a German officer's desk, and a compass. They moved only under the cover of night, fighting the dense European woods and the agonizing pain of their wounded. The biggest threat wasn't the German patrols. It was the crippling cold and the betrayal of the human body. They went 48 agonizing hours without clean water, the wounded men fading fast. Miles had to take a calculated risk, approaching a farmhouse at midnight. He didn't ask for help. He conducted a strategic infiltration, securing 2 canteens of water and a loaf of bread, leaving behind a small American silver dollar, a message of honor and defiance to let the locals know an escape was underway. On the second day, a 6-man German patrol stumbled onto their hiding place in an abandoned root cellar. Miles had placed tripwires. The first explosion was a simple flare, designed not to kill but to disorient. Miles and the remaining able-bodied crew member engaged the patrol from 2 different firing positions. This wasn't a large-scale battle. It was a desperate, close-quarters firefight. They eliminated 4 of the patrol before vanishing back into the tree line. The remaining 2 Germans reported seeing an entire company of commandos. Miles's greatest strategic victory was psychological. He had turned his defense into a phantom offense. Miles's survival rested on his compass and his uncanny internal gyroscope. The enemy had flooded the area with fake signs and false roads, desperate to funnel escaping airmen into their established trap zones. Miles ignored every road marker, relying instead on his pre-flight reconnaissance notes of the area's geology and terrain. He led them through swamps and abandoned tunnels, places the enemy assumed were impassable. This dedication to mastery saved their lives multiple times. Mini Hook 4, the final bluff preparation. They were 5 miles from the channel, exhausted, out of water, and down to their final 2 rounds of FAK, high-caliber ammunition. Miles realized they couldn't fight anymore. They had to transition from warrior to actor. They had to bluff their way to freedom. Miles stripped the torn shirt from the severely wounded co-pilot and raised it on a stick knot as a flag of surrender, but as a provocation. He marched out into the open, dragging his wounded crew towards the one place a German patrol would never expect them, the largest enemy signal tower on the coast. He presented a fabricated letter, supposedly from a high-ranking SS officer, demanding safe passage for wounded POWs to a distant holding facility. It was an impossible, high-risk bluff. Based on the simple reality that no German soldier would believe a bomber crew could walk 30 miles deep into their territory and survive. The audacity was their camouflage. The deception worked. The guard, terrified of violating a direct SS order, signaled a transport truck. They rode straight to the French coast, where a pre-arranged British PT boat, waiting for a separate covert operation, was able to spot their signal mirror at dawn. They made it. 7 men, written off by command, returned to base 3 days later. Miles Kennedy was both court-martialed for disobeying a direct order and simultaneously awarded the Silver Star for his extraordinary valor and leadership. The military could not punish the soldier whose defiance saved 7 lives. Miles Kennedy's story is the definition of the untwisted truth, that the true measure of a soldier is not in their obedience, but in their unwavering dedication to their comrades. His ultimate defiance didn't just save 7 critical lives. It exposed a fundamental flaw in the old ways of thinking. His action led to immediate changes in emergency aircrew protocols across the entire theater. If you find these moments of extraordinary human achievement and high-stakes military strategy as compelling as we do, you need to be a part of this community. Right now, before you click away, hit that subscribe button. Every subscriber helps us continue to untwist the truth behind these incredible acts of valor. And if you want to see another soldier defy the odds, click on the video on your screen where we uncover the story of the lone Marine who fought a siege with a broken arm. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time as we continue to untwist the truth.